Before I get started, I got to say something to all of you, and that is, I love you guys. I was at Growth before this, and how many of you have been here since Saturday? Oh my gosh. I have this thing about Vegas, like the first 48 hours are amazing, and there's like a cliff. It's like gets really bad after that. But you know, I went through the Growth conference, and I was just tired. It felt like, okay, the conference is done. Man, I'm just exhausted. And then you all came in, and you got like energy, and you're hungry to learn, and you're like here, like you're in it to win it. And way better than those Growth folks, by the way. Like way, way better. They're all like jaded and stuff, and you guys are like, come on, you got energy. I love it. So thanks for that. Today, I'm going to give you 5 tactics and 4 principles for achieving independence through products. And if while I'm talking, if you want to say hi on Twitter, if I say something you want to tweet it, that's my Twitter handle, MIJustin. If you want to know what that stands for, you can ask me in the Q&A. This is my official sounding bio. I got started in SaaS in 2008, worked for different startups, eventually became the product manager at Sprintly. You might have heard one of my podcasts, Product People or Mega Maker. You might have seen something I've read. But the truth is I'm just an idiot that Mike and Rob found on the internet. And by the end of this talk, I want you guys to think like, man, if this guy can make it work, I can make it work. Because I'm just a jackass. If I'm good at anything, it's just being loud, basically. So another thing I do understand, though, is I understand where you're at right now. You're here because you're not satisfied with the way things are. You want your life to be better. And you know, for me, this was all about sitting in traffic. 1 hour into the office, 1 hour back. Anyone sit in traffic right now? Anyone have to drive to the office? And it killed me. It killed me. I'm in traffic, and I'm, like going to the office, and I just hate it. I hate driving cars. I would way rather ride a bike. And I'm just like, man, I wish I wasn't here. How could my life be better? And I think for a lot of us, it's kind of like we know life can be better, but we have no imagination for what that might look like, right? So it's like we know there's a better, there's a great peak out there, but we don't know like what that looks like. And then sometimes what happens, for me, it was like listening to Rob and Mike in my car. I discovered that people could make an independent income from digital products. And those people became my hero, right? Jason Fried. And I was like, okay, I got to be like them. And the question we all ask, of course, is how the hell did they get up there, right? How did they do that? How can I do that? How do you go from no idea, no audience, no idea, no revenue, to quitting your job? Is there anyone in here that wants to know how to do that? Is there anyone? Okay. Make some noise. You guys want to do that? Is that what you want to do? Okay. All right. So let's start with my journey. And again, I'm just an idiot. I'm a jackass on the internet. Like, this is just my story, but maybe there's some things you can learn from it. So I started in software late, 2008, 28 years old, and I had to start at the bottom. I had worked in nonprofits before that, and this guy called me and gave me a job, but I worked at customer support, answering the phones. But that year, I discovered 2 things that would change my life. The first was Getting Real by 37 Signals. Who's read this? This blew my mind. Just gave me this vision for like, you can build this stuff. You can build something that helps people, and you can deliver it through the internet, and they'll pay you for it. If you haven't read this yet, it's still online. You can get it and download it for free. Man, that air conditioning is so freaking loud, hey? It's like up here, it's not as loud, but out there, it's loud. The second thing was startups for the rest of us. I found it somehow. I had 2 hours every day, and I heard Rob and Mike talking about this stuff, and it gave me an imagination for what was possible. For the first time in my life, I realized it could be different. You can make an independent income selling stuff on the internet. Do you guys remember when you had that thought? Like, wow, this is possible. And maybe that thought is what brought you here. I had 2 big obstacles in my way. No time. How many of you guys feel like you got no time? All right. How come I had no time? I have 4 kids. I have a 14-year-old daughter, a 9-year-old son. 14-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son. I skipped one. A 9-year-old son and a 7-year-old son. When we found out we were going to have 3 boys, I booked a vasectomy that day. I was like, okay, I'm going in. And this is what my schedule looked like. Get the kids to school at 7 a.m., drive to the office at 8 a.m., work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., eat dinner 6 p.m., help the kids with homework and chores, maybe have a little bit of time to talk to my wife, and then just collapse in an exhausted heap at the end of the day. How many of you have a schedule like this right now? Yeah, it's hard. So I had 2 things to overcome. Number 1, I needed to find more time. And number 2, I needed to make some money to support my family. I was the primary income earner for the family, and I needed money. I couldn't just quit my job and have no money, right? So first, I did some things to try to find more time. Tried waking up early, staying up late. I tried the Gary V program for a while, where he's like, just stay up till your eyeballs bleed. I was like, that's bad advice. I was working on the bus, working during my lunch hour. What worked? It took 4 years to do this. I got a remote job. That's what worked, because when I got the remote job, it eliminated the 2-hour commute and gave me some time to work on some stuff on the side. That would be another good question for Q&A. How do you get a remote job? And in that time, I started a podcast with my friend Kyle Fox. Kyle's here. Where's Kyle? Right there. Give this guy a hand right now, because Kyle probably hates that I did that. But it was Kyle's idea to start the podcast. And he really pursued me. He's like, we got to do this. And I was like, I don't know. I just got some free time. And he's the one that made me do it, basically. And we were both product managers. And so we thought, okay, we're both product managers. We're both trying to build great products for our employers. Let's talk to the best product people in the world. And so we started interviewing people, and we started building an audience of product people. Originally, we thought it would be product managers, but eventually it was like people like you, people that were interested in building a product themselves. And around the same time, I started a newsletter. People were interested in, whenever I wrote about products, so started a newsletter. And this is the key part. So up till now, building a little audience. This is the next part, the important part. I noticed people were asking some of the same questions over and over again. Here's an example of one. How can I keep myself motivated as a solo founder? And I thought, okay, I'm going to dig into this a bit, because it kept coming up. People would email me about it. Justin, how do I do that? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to dig into this. And I reached out to Patio11 and Rob on Twitter. I'm like, hey, as solo founders, do you guys have some sort of support group? And Patio said, yeah, we have a campfire room where we hang out all day. It's like us and other founders. And an interesting thing happened. Nate Cotney replied and said, man, I would like to join one of these campfire rooms. And it was this and other things. I was like, man, I'm noticing a trend here. So I formed a hypothesis. Solo founders want a support group so that they can stay motivated. And I kind of sat on this for a while. I'd realized this, and I'm like, man, there's probably a need here, but just sat on it. Then one day, I had a bad day at work. I was angry. How many of you guys have ever worked on a project at work that never shipped? Man, that sucks. We worked on this feature forever, and it just wasn't shipping. So I came home that day, just pissed off, and I said, you know what I'm going to do tonight, is I'm going to create something and launch it and get someone to pay me tonight. That's what I'm going to do. And I appropriately called the product Just Fucking Do It. A support group for solo founders, bootstrappers, and anyone launching their own thing. And this was just a completely it was a campfire room. Do you guys remember campfire? You know what I'm talking about? It's like group chat. Do you seriously not remember campfire? Okay. There's like some really young people over here that are like, I don't know what that is. The first spots sold out in an hour. I actually made a mistake. I only was going to open it to 10 people, but I didn't think they would sell that fast, and I went to sleep. And it was just manual. I'm just like turning on Stripe billing and turning it off. Oh, man. When that turns off, it's so good. And I forgot to turn it off, and I woke up, and there was 35 members that were there. And it was real simple. I built it, HTML, MailChimp, Campfire, obviously, Stripe, Memberful for the billing. And I kept working on it on the side. It was a side project. Kept iterating on it. This is what it looks like today. It's evolved into Product People Club. My wife said, you can't keep calling it Just Fucking Do It. We got to have something a little more appropriate. It was especially hard during kids' career days. My kids are like, the stack has evolved a little bit. But as a side project, something I just built while I was a product manager, it's earned over $73,000 since I launched it. And, very little custom code created by one person, me, built on the side, but it provided real value. This is one of the early members, Robert from Let's Workshop. We've had a lot. Samuel Hulick was an early member, a user on board. Ryan Hoover was an early member. And so it provided real value for people. And since then, I just decided to keep launching projects. Some of you guys know I had a little problem with this for a while. I just started building things and launching them. I had a lot of pissed off days at work. And as I was launching these things over the years, 2 got traction. Some people ask me why don't you keep making 100 things a year? Well, it's because 2 got traction. The first was marketing for developers. This is a course. It's hosted on Coach. They're sponsoring this. This is my first kind of big hit. Launched this. And again, just listening to people. I had a lot of developers emailing me saying, I built this app. How do I get customers? And so this was a response to that. And my second one, I just launched this, Tiny Marketing Wins. These are the 2 that put braces on my 14-year-old's face, basically. And I gradually built up the side income until just last year, January 1st, 2016, I was able to go full-time just selling the things I make with computers. This is what my side income looked like over the years. Indie income, 2012. And actually, if we could go back further, there was a point where it was $1. And then it became, $100, and then eventually 2012, $10,000, then $20,000, then $40,000, then $66,000, and then last year it was $150,000. And this is amazing to me that I get to now earn a full-time income, I get to provide for my family just from making things with computers. And if I could compare that frustrated person who was stuck in traffic. And I literally thought, when I was stuck in traffic, I thought, I'm never going to be where Rob and Mike are. That's never going to happen for me. It just seemed way, way too far away. But if we look at, can I go back? If we look at this, it was just gradual, over time, eventually it happened. And like I said, I'm an idiot. You guys can do this way faster than me. All right, let's take a little break. How many of you have never made $1 on the internet? Put up your hands. You've never made $1 on the internet. Okay, so keep them up for goodness sake. Come on. Okay, so never made $1 on the internet. I'm going to give you. You're going to make your first $1. One of you is going to make your first $1 from me, someone on the internet. I got one red hot American dollar right here, and you also get a copy of my book, Jolt. This is the only copy I ever printed. It's like full color. It cost me $49. So this is what I want you to do. I want you guys to guess what socks I'm wearing. So the first person that can guess what kind of socks I'm wearing, I'll give you a hint. It's one of my favorite bands. Who knows? No? No? Anyone have an idea? Yeah, sorry? Iron Maiden. 666. Number of... Awesome. Okay, who is that over there? Drew. All right, Drew, you've won this. Should we pass it back? Will that even work? Okay, trust exercise. Here we go. Give it for Drew. All right. Iron Maiden socks. I'll show them to you guys later. Okay, so first, before we move on too far, we need to find you guys more time. Who needs more time again? Yeah, okay, here we go. We're going to get you guys more time. Is this going to be helpful? You guys need this part? Okay. Here's some ideas. Take a 1-week sabbatical from work to focus on your project. I call this a week of hustle. You think about when I'm at a conference, I'm getting nothing done, right? And when you go to a conference for work, they don't bug you. They don't they hold all your calls. They don't care if you're not responding to email or whatever. It's like you're kind of gone. Why not just replicate that and do something for your project? So take a sabbatical and focus on your project. Another idea is to wake up early, put in an hour before work. Work from home 1 day a week. So talk to Josh Duty about salary negotiation. But when your boss comes to you and says, hey, we want to give you a raise, say, well, how about instead of a raise or in addition to a raise, you also let me take Fridays off, right? You can negotiate that stuff. Get yourself 1 extra day. And get a remote job. That works too. All right, are you guys ready for tactics? Are you ready? Okay, I know you've been sitting for a while. Here we go. Tactics. Number 1, choose your audience. The big mistake people make is they start with an idea when they should be starting with people. And this is the question I like to answer. What group are you best equipped to serve? What group? What do they look like? Here's some examples of some groups. Parents with kids in diapers, folks starting a podcast, freelance designers, F-sharp developers. Any F-sharp developers in here? Oh, yeah. That's your customer right there. 40-plus joggers, commuters. Now, these are all example markets, but good markets have certain characteristics. They're easy to reach. There's existing marketing channels to get to them, right? They're highly motivated to solve their own problems. This is why, actually, programmers are an amazing customer to have. You're highly motivated to solve your own problems. Ability and willingness to pay. I think it also should be a group you're excited to serve. So my old joke is that when I was getting all these emails, there's a disproportionate amount of people, developers, that want to build apps for real estate agents. And I always say, do you like hanging out with real estate agents? You want to go to real estate conferences? You want to party with those guys? Well, if the answer is no, then don't make them your customer. And it also helps if it's a group you're personally connected to. Another way to frame this is, where am I already being paid for my skills and expertise? There's been a bunch of speakers that have kind of alluded to this, but let me give you an example. This is Darian Rosebrook. He's a Product People member, and he is a designer working in the banking industry. So who could he focus on? Well, you can go vertical or you can go horizontal. And this is what I mean. He goes every day to work in the banking industry. He can see what makes his boss pull out his hair. He can see the gaps. He can see the struggles. And if you go to work every day, if you have a job, and you can look at your industry, you can say, okay, where are the opportunities? What are people struggling with here? And those are often the seeds for good ideas for products. You can also go horizontal, right? Your peers. So Darian probably has something to say to a junior designer. Maybe a designer joins and they've only used Photoshop, but Darian knows Sketch, and he can teach him Sketch, right? Your target market should be a group you're already connected to. It really helps. How many of you are consultants or freelancers? All right, I got something just for you guys. Just for you. I prepared something just for you. This is a case study. My buddy Francois, up in Canada, has a consulting business where he serves Shopify stores. He builds Shopify apps and websites. And as he was serving clients, he noticed that people kept coming to him with this request. And to me, as someone that doesn't serve that customer, this idea sounds completely stupid. But this is what it is the customer would say, hey, we have an Instagram page. We want you to suck that Instagram page into Shopify, create a gallery, reproduce it, and then we want you to make all those images shoppable, like, put a link on them so people can buy. And then we'll put a little link in our Instagram bio that links to that page. Now, to me, this is weird. Why would someone want this? It's totally clunky, right? But he launched it 2 years ago, and it's going crazy. This is now his full-time income. He doesn't do consulting anymore. And this is what he does now. He launched a web app that solves that problem. So freelancers, consultants, you have a built-in advantage. You already have a superpower. You're already being paid for your skills and expertise. You're already connected to customers that are paying you. You can observe patterns, what requests come up over and over again. And when you launch, like when he launched, he already had 5, 10 customers that wanted it, right? It's a pretty sweet deal. All right, the next one is the one everyone wants to skip. Research your audience. No one's going to do this. I know, you're not going to do this. But this is the most important thing. How do you find good product ideas? Are good product ideas the ones you have at 2 a.m. in the morning that are completely disconnected from reality after you've been out drinking? No. You need to hit a nerve that makes people say, shut up and take my money, right? And the only way to do this is to observe people. That's the only way to do this. You want to understand the progress customers are trying to make and what struggles stand in their way. This is why you do research. You guys are falling asleep on me a little bit. I need you guys, pay attention to this next part. Everyone look at me. Don't look at my slides. People buy products for one reason only: to make their lives better. I'm going to say it again. People buy products for one reason only: to make their lives better. People do not care about your feelings. They don't care how hard you worked on it. They don't care if it's clean code or dirty code. People buy products for one reason only: to make their lives better. Now, I've got some swag here. I got some stickers and some. If you guys tweet this, I'll look at it. I will give you stickers and notebook. I'll give you a bunch of stuff to take home. Some souvenirs for your kids. This is the most important thing I've ever discovered. Because before, I thought it was all about me and my idea. And the truth is, it's not about me. The position of a product person isn't inward, it's outward. How can I make people's lives better? I'm going to give you a case study. Jewelry store. So inside of Tiny Marketing Wins, members can ask me questions. It's like a Reddit-style forum. And this guy was like, I'm in the jewelry industry. How do I figure out what jewelry customers want? And these kind of questions kind of piss me off a little bit. So I grabbed my camera, I put on my secret agent sunglasses, and I snuck into a jewelry store and videotaped people buying jewelry. And this is on my YouTube channel. You can find it. You can watch the whole thing. My wife was not happy about this one either. But this is what I observed. Just going into this jewelry store in, nowhere, Canada, this is what I observed. 90% of the products in the store were for women. There's rings and some watches for men, but 90% of the stuff is for women. 100% of the people in the store were men. And they weren't buying for themselves. They were only making purchases for women. How many of you guys have ever been in a jewelry store? It is the most uncomfortable experience ever, right? You're just walking around I don't know what the fuck to get. I don't know. What's her ring size? I have no fucking idea. And what I'm trying to do is find the answers to these questions. Where are they now? Where do they want to be? What's their dream of a better life? And what stands in their way? Here, I'll illustrate it like this. They're over here. Where are they now? Who are these people? Over on the other side, what is their dream? How could their life be better? And then finally, what obstacles stand in their way? Now again, the job of a product person is to help the customer overcome the obstacles and get to that dream of a better life. That's your whole job. That's your only job. So again, going back to the jewelry example, where are they now? They're just an uncomfortable dude walking around a jewelry store, right? They're anxious. They're nervous. Where do they want to be? What's the superpower? That's another way to put it. What's the superpower they want? They want to be the impressive romantic boyfriend. That's what you want, right? If you've ever bought jewelry for a significant other, that's your dream. And what stands in their way? They don't know shit about jewelry or romance, right? Observe your audience wherever they hang out. And to do this research you're not going to do, I know. You can do it online. There's all these places. You can do it offline. This would be another good question for Q&A, is if you have a specific group you're thinking of and you're like, I don't know how to reach them, I'll help you with that. Third step, create a hypothesis. So this is the hypothesis I would do for the jewelry store. Free me from the anxiety of wondering what to get my girlfriend so that I can be an impressive romantic boyfriend. Now, I spent 10 minutes in this jewelry store, right? If I was really going to do this, I would have to go there every single day. I might get kicked out after a while. This is a guy with sunglasses shows up every single day. But you'd have to observe people every single day for weeks. But I think this is actually pretty bang on, because if you look at what the jewelry store, how they advertise, this is what they're doing, right? What's the dream of a better life? Well, that picture, right? That's what you want when you buy jewelry. How do you help them overcome the obstacles? Well, you give them a gift guide for your girlfriend, right? This is also an example of a good tiny product. It's not really a product, but this is a gift guide for men that want to buy jewelry for their girlfriends. It's a great little tiny thing, great way to test out an idea. Do I have time for this? A few more examples. Let's Workshop lets you send leads to freelancers. Here's the hypothesis for that. Free me from the anxiety of finding new leads so that I have a steady stream of clients. Like I said, it could also be framed as a superpower. So you've got MailChimp. What superpower does MailChimp give to their subscribers? Well, help me to send better email so that I can sell more stuff. Sell more stuff is the superpower. There's some magic words for hypotheses. I got these from Alan Clement, Jobs to be Done. He has a book called When Coffee and Kale Compete. You should get it. Give me, help me, free me, make the, take away the, equip me to. These are the magic words you want to use when you're forming a hypothesis. And again, this is kind of the structure. Help me with this obstacle so that I can achieve this dream. All right, there's only 2 more steps. Create a tiny product to test your hypothesis. This has been a theme this year. This didn't used to be a theme, but now it's like all this. We're aligned on this. Create something small, right? What's the smallest product you could create that would disprove your hypothesis? Don't go out and try to prove it. Try to disprove it. Let me give you an example from User Onboard. You guys have seen User Onboard, right? He started with just saying, okay, I'm going to do these teardowns, right? Here's this tiny little product. And at the end of it, he has a place to put in your email address. This would be the hypothesis, right? But the idea, what Samuel did there, was he put something out into the world to see if he could get conversion. And good conversion is an email address to start, and then some dollars. So he was getting thousands of email addresses at the end of those teardowns, and then eventually he started getting dollars. He launched a book and was able to now earn an independent income from user onboarding, from teardowns. This has already been covered. Here's some tiny product ideas. I'm going to reiterate some other advice, which is to start with a workshop. And the reason is that almost every human struggle, doesn't matter what you're thinking about right now, you've got a big idea for a big app, it can be solved manually through teaching. And again, challenge me during Q&A if I have time. I'll try to come up with some examples for your idea. But if you don't believe me, believe these guys. Basecamp, everyone's ideal business to have. This is how they started. 2003, doing workshops. Before they launched Basecamp, they were doing workshops on how they work, their process. They were teaching. If that worked for Basecamp, that can work for you guys, right? And then the other question is, and this is scary, I know. If you can't get 5 people to show up at a workshop, how are you going to get hundreds of people to sign up for software? And one reason I like local workshops is I want you guys to feel the pain. I want you to feel the pain. I want you to fail a little bit. I want you to show up at an event that you put on and have no one show up. And here's why. Because you guys are, your problem is that not that you're, your problem is that you're not failing enough. You're not trying enough. This is a quote from Derek Sivers. Basically, start small. And then the last step, if the feedback is good, iterate. So if you actually do this, if you actually follow this process, what are you going to learn? What are you going to learn if you actually launch something tiny? If you go rent a room at a library and do a workshop on Vim, what are you going to learn? How hard is it to find customers? Did I hit a nerve? Did I identify their number one struggle? How hard is it to get people to pay? Maybe you do the first one for free, then you do another one that's $20, and how hard is it to get people to pay? How satisfied were people with your solution? And finally, do I like the customers? Everyone always, they're like running around looking for a great business idea. They don't stop to think like, do I even like these people? Do I want to get emails and phone calls from them for the rest of my life? If the answers are all thumbs up, then keep iterating. And this is what I mean by iterating. Let's say you sell an Excel sheet for $19. Well, you keep working on it, leveling up, until maybe it can become a web app that you sell for $39 a month. If you start with a local workshop that's free and then you make it $99, well, maybe eventually that could become an online course that's $199. So these are the steps. I got a little bit of time left. I got 17 minutes on the clock. And what I wanted to do before I left was give you like the biggest lessons I've learned. And they're kind of squishy. I know like MicroConf's all about tactics, but these are just like kind of bigger picture things. Is that okay? Are you guys still awake enough? You are? Okay. All right, here we go. Principles. Number 1, your personal context is important. Love this thread from Reddit. This was an Ask Me Anything with Jason Fried. And this guy's saying, hey, do you think it's reasonable for someone with a full-time job and a family to start a small business on the side without negatively impacting their performance at work or the quality of their family life? And Jason's answer was, I'm the wrong person to ask because when I started Basecamp, I was a single idiot. Your personal context is important. And this is actually, we all have heroes, like Jason Fried's one of my heroes, but don't try to be like your hero. Their life is completely different. Like, Jason is completely different than me. His life is completely different. You've got to embrace your personal context. And that looks like this. Your family situation. Married, kids, that matters. Career experience, financial situation. If you're paying off a bunch of debt, maybe it's not the best time to launch a business yet. Personality type, skills and expertise, personal health. Where you're at now will determine the type of product you launch and how long it will take, and that's okay. It really is. It's okay if it takes you a little bit longer. You are completely different than me. I'm completely different than you. Embrace your personal situation, whatever it is. Number 2, momentum is everything. This is what I was trying to say before. People who stand still don't make progress. And the thing I see people doing is they're just waiting for the right moment. They're just sitting on the sidelines waiting for the right moment. That's not how you get better at product stuff. You got to be in motion. You have to have momentum. You have to do stuff. Again, I think the only reason I've had success is because I'm stupid enough to do stuff and tell people. Do stuff and tell people, right? And yeah, sure, you're in motion, you're going to make mistakes, but you also keep moving forward. Choose your market carefully. Everything starts with the group you're going to serve. Everything starts with the group you're going to serve. And to tell you the truth, some markets are just better than others. It doesn't get talked about that much. So think about that. Think about, does this market, is it big enough? Does it got enough money? Are they motivated to buy things? Are they motivated to improve their lives? And finally, again, people buy products for one reason only: to make their lives better. And if you do this, if you find a group and you research it and you observe and you figure out a way to make their lives better, and then you put it out into the world, they'll pay you for it, and you'll earn an independent living from the things you create too. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Hey, thanks a lot. That was excellent. It's really great to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Is the MI Iron Maiden backwards?
Oh, okay. So everyone always wants to know about my Twitter handle, and this is the embarrassing story about it. And people have had some good guesses. Some people think it's Mexican, like me, Justin, or something like that. Some people think it's, I used to have that mustache avatar. Some people think it's mustache impersonator. That's not it either. Kyle might know. I used to work for a company called Mailout Interactive. And when I started on Twitter, I thought I would only be tweeting stuff for them. And so MI is just for Mailout Interactive. A bad company name became part of my online identity, and now I can't get rid of it. So that's what it is. MI Justin.
Anyone else? Just put your hands up. I'll ask a question then, hell. Do you agree with Patio 11's approach to don't start a software company first?
Yeah. Like that advice of start small, I think is the best advice. I think you want to start with, like I said, everyone always is like, in the workshop, I asked how many people would be scared to put on a local workshop as a part of their thing. And everyone put up their hand. They're like, yeah, that's scary. And that's exactly the point. Like, put on something that scares you. Okay, I'll tell you guys one story. Last year, after this conference, I'd been doing a series of workshops kind of like this in different cities. And I'd attracted like 10, 20, 30 people to these workshops. And I thought, okay, I'm coming into Vegas. Vegas has a little bit of a startup scene, or had a startup scene. I'm going to offer a workshop for here. And then the first day I got here, and Michael Saka, who lives here, said, man, you shouldn't be putting on a workshop. Like, Vegas tech scene has imploded on itself. Like, there's no one here. And I did a workshop I'd already scheduled it. 2 people showed up. I'd booked a hotel room for it and everything. This wasn't as a part of the conference. I did it like as another thing. 2 people showed up, and I still did it. It's okay to like try things and for it to not work. It's better for you to try and fail than to just sit on the sidelines and not do anything. Anything else?
Here we go, right here.
I think you're the first person at this conference who's talked about workshops, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds good. Resources, where do you suggest people get started? Should we go read?
Yeah, so there's Crowdcast is a good tool for it. To tell you the truth, I just use YouTube live events. So I create an event and make it unlisted, and then I just send out invites using my email software, and people can book, and then I send them the secret unlisted link. There's a little chat, and I usually do it depending on the audience, I'll do a Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 11, 45 minutes for me presenting, 15 minutes for questions, and afterwards I just send them a link to the YouTube video. So that's one way to do it for sure.
Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll wrap up. Here we go, one here.
Just a follow-up to how you actually did the workshop. Did you have slides or something like that prepared? Was it just you talking? How did you actually give the presentation?
Yeah. So I'll have slides, and on YouTube, I'll just use, you can share your screen. So, and I'll intersperse it. So it'll be like, share my screen, and then I'll have moments where I just want to be a human being that they can see, right? But I know some people, like my buddy Paul Jarvis does them, and often he won't be on screen. It'll just be his slides. But yeah, you can kind of intersperse it, and I kind of just follow a slide deck. And that actually becomes another resource I give them. They can download the slides after, too. Does that help? Kind of paint the picture? Yeah.
One more right here.
You omitted a lot of spaces in your slides. Is there a secret story behind that, like between words?
Oh, that was just, I do my slides in DexSet, and when we imported them into PowerPoint, it didn't work. Huh. Oh, yeah, that would have been smart, actually. I like that idea. I like that.
And we've got time for one more right over here.
Okay.
Hey, Justin.
Hey.
This might come out as a pretty weird question. I love interacting with people, talking to them. Many of my fellow attendees here had a great time. But on the internet, I'm pretty scared to expose my identity. So I do have a Twitter handle. Probably I have like 10 tweets over, say, 10 years. I deleted my Facebook account in 2010. And my presence in Google Plus is very minimal.
Yep.
So I don't want to expose my identity,
Yep.
whatever you can think of. I think that, yes, software is social, but at the same time, I think the freemium model scares me because I think that a lot of people get to know a lot of unnecessary stuff about me. Even without knowing me as a person, they make a judgment call.
Yeah.
So for a person like me, let's say, come up with the ebook or a software, what would you suggest to, say, put it out? I'm open for criticism, fine, but
Sure,
without
yeah.
using these established venues, how do I expose my product or service or offers to other people?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, that's the one disadvantage of the thing we're suggesting you do, is that books and courses are personality-based businesses usually, right? Here's a few ideas. One is you can still run a local workshop, and you would get tons and tons of information. And you're technical, right? And so if you did the scary thing to actually meet some real human beings in real space, figure out what their struggles really are, where they want to go, maybe your next step is building a tiny software product. And there's ways to be anonymous, right? You can focus on SEO, right? So there's ways to do it. I still think you need the face-to-face time, so I would go after like those, like I said, a workshop. It's not like you trying to be a big internet brand. It's just like you getting together with 5 people in a coffee shop. The other actually tip that I didn't mention, I think it got mentioned before, is just look on meetup.com, look on Eventbrite, also has a directory, and you could just show up as a guest speaker, and that even removes more of the barrier, right? So go observe their problems, and then maybe offer something technical. Or you could team up with a jackass like me, and I could be the face of your company, right? So that's the other option. Cool. That was it. Thanks, guys.